Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. If you jump on here live here on this Thursday evening, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. And I said last night that I was going to come on here sometime tonight and talk about the games coming up tomorrow night, because last night I talked about all the games that are on tonight, and I didn't really know what time to come on here because I know that by the time Nebraska and Cincinnati ends, it's going to be after midnight on the East Coast, which is way too late. But I thought, well, before that, there's going to be games, and if I go on during a game, there's a chance nobody will watch, and there's still a chance nobody will see this. But hopefully, somebody jumps on here live. But I thought this was the best time because NC State, East Carolina are at halftime, and South Florida is destroying Boise State. Now, I'm almost positive that either yesterday or earlier in the week I said that I could see South Florida beating Boise State. If I didn't say it on here, I told somebody that. I thought there was a good chance South Florida would win the game, but I didn't realize they'd be up 31-7 in the fourth quarter. But I thought the Bulls could pull it off because Boise State's having to adjust not having Ashton Jeanty. Now, long term, it may help them because they may have to figure out how to move the ball without relying on one guy. But when you relied on that one guy so much last year, now all of a sudden he's not there, that takes a while to adjust to. You're not going to have a player like Ashton Jeanty who gets the ball 25, 30 times a game, all of a sudden be gone and you come out and score 40 points. So I thought it'd be competitive. Hey there, Carrie. Glad to have you here on this Thursday evening. Feel free to give the video a like and a thumbs up, and if you have not subscribed, please do so. And Carrie, I think it's the first time I've seen your name in the comments section. So if it is your first time here, thank you for stopping by. And hey there, I'm going to hope that's pronounced Inanya. If not, I apologize. Hey there, Elijah. Glad to have you here. And hey there, Chloe. Glad to have you here. But tomorrow night we have 6 o'clock, Tarleton State and Army on the CBS Sports Network. And I bet nobody without Googling it could not tell me where Tarleton State is located. Then at 7 o'clock on Fox Sports 1, we have Western Michigan and Michigan State. I am having a good day, Elijah. Hopefully you are as well. To me, every day is a good day. There's no such thing as a bad day. 7 o'clock on the ACC network is Kennesaw State and Wake Forest. Also 7 o'clock on ESPN-U is Appalachian State and Charlotte. So two small schools from the state of North Carolina playing on ESPN-U. And then we have what I think will be the game of the night. Should be a very good game, a very competitive game. But I think Baylor wins the game. That's Baylor against Auburn. That game's at 8 o'clock on Fox. Also 8 o'clock on ESPN, we have Georgia Tech and Colorado. And then 9:30 on the CBS Sports Network, we have UNLV against Sam Houston State. And then at 10:30, the late game that won't end until about 2 o'clock on the East Coast, we have Central Michigan and San Jose State. I think San Jose State's picked to win like 4 games this year. So if they don't beat Central Michigan, it'll be 3 games. And of course, there's way more games than this. Usually, once the season gets started, there's 1 or 2 games on Friday night. But hey, it's opening weekend, so they're going to put a ton on. But these are the ones that are televised and the ones that, for one reason or another, are intriguing. You know, the games that should be blowouts, I'm not going to mention But these games are intriguing for one reason or another. Army's intriguing because a lot of people have Army as a fringe playoff team, so we'll see how good they are. I know we're not going to see much against Tarleton State, or at least you shouldn't see much against Tarleton State, but it'll be interesting to see if Army's as good as everybody thinks they will be. And I think Western Michigan and Michigan State should be competitive because I just don't think Michigan State's very good. Kennesaw State and Wake Forest will be intriguing because most people have Wake Forest as a 4 or 5 win team. I personally have them as a 7-win team, and it's not that I'm high on Wake Forest. I'm just down on some of their opponents and some of the games that others think Wake Forest will lose. I think they'll win because I think they've got a great head coach that's a winner everywhere he goes. So some of the losses that everybody else sees on the schedule, I see as wins. So we'll see what they do against Kennesaw State. And Appalachian State and Charlotte are just two average football teams, not far from each other. Two teams that do not like each other. Most people in the state of North Carolina despise Appalachian State. So that game is intriguing because that's two teams that just do not like each other. And I think Georgia Tech and Colorado and Auburn and Baylor are both just going to be good football games. I think Sawyer Robertson is a great quarterback. I think Baylor's going the right direction, and I think Auburn's going the wrong direction. I think this will be Hugh Freeze's last year on the Plains. Hey there, Shrimp. Glad to have you here. And I'm interested to see UNLV and Sam Houston State because UNLV won last week, but they trailed for a long time. They were just not impressive at all. And Sam Houston State's not a bad football team. So I'm interested to see if UNLV can look better tomorrow night. Please do, Shrimp. Please like the channel, subscribe to the channel, follow the channel, click that bell so that whenever I post a video, you'll be notified because I post just about every single day. So please do all of those things. Tell your friends, tell your family. We talk college football, we talk NFL, we talk Major League Baseball. I have not talked a lot of baseball this year because I'm a Braves fan and they have let me down this year, but I will talk more about it, come playoff time and make my playoff predictions. But usually I do a Braves report every week, but I have not felt like doing one because I've been mad at the Braves since about the middle of June when I realized, okay, this is not one of those years they're going to start slow and come on strong. They're just going to suck all this year. And they have. But we talk NBA, college basketball, NASCAR, wrestling. And speaking of wrestling, I had a show this weekend that ended up getting canceled. So it's not going to happen. So I'm going to sit on my butt Saturday and watch some college football. It doesn't look that way, JD. I kicked off the video a few minutes ago talking about that game because I either said it here on the channel yesterday or maybe I told somebody this in person, but I thought South Florida had a pretty good chance to win the game. But I thought if Boise did win the game, they wouldn't cover the spread and it'd be competitive. But I'd have never thought that South Florida would have a 31-7 lead in the fourth quarter. But Boise State is always good, so even though they're going to lose this game, if they finish 11-1, there's a pretty good chance they might still make the playoffs. Most people have either Boise State, Army, or Navy as that group of 5 team. If they all three finish 11-1 or 10-2, one of them has to get in. And there's a pretty good chance that even though Boise State loses tonight, they're still going to finish 11-1 or 10-2. But, the only reason I thought Boise State would struggle is because I think Maddox Madsen, which, by the way, Maddox, what a great name. I know this awesome guy named Brandon that has a twin son named Maddox, but Maddox Madsen, I don't think he's a bad quarterback. But they relied so much on Ashton Genty, and now they've got a new coordinator. I just thought that, you're going to have maybe a new offensive system, and the guy you've relied on big time. The last year or so is gone, so it's going to be a big adjustment. So I knew they weren't going to come out and try to sling the ball down the field right away, but I knew that the running backs they had weren't going to be near as good as Ashton Jeanty. And it's not a slight against the guys they've got, because the guys they have now are not bad, but they're not Ashton Jeanty. But when you rely so much on one player and then all of a sudden he's gone, and you start out with a good team, it's a struggle. So I knew Boise State wasn't going to come out and score 40 points. But now if their first game was against an FCS team, then they'd have a chance to adjust to life without Jeanty. But when you come out and you play South Florida, who's a pretty good football team, if you struggle on offense, you're in trouble. And they have definitely struggled on offense. But if they go 11-1 or 10-2, they're either going to be in the playoff or right there on the outside looking in, depending on what Army does and what Navy does. But, Boise State is almost always good. So I know they've looked like absolute dog crap tonight, but I don't expect that to continue all season long. But I'm hoping that this Nebraska-Cincinnati game that starts coming up here in about 15 minutes will end up being a good game, because I thought Boise State and South Florida would be a good game, but it was a good game for most of the first half. But by mid-third quarter, you could tell, okay, this is about to be a blowout, and it's turned out to be one. Today, you heard someone take Navy as the G5 representative. Yeah, that's why I say it. I think to most people, it's either going to be Army or Navy or Boise State, one of those three. And, of course, Army and Navy are going to play each other, so one of them already has one loss. So unless Army and Navy both go through the season undefeated, and then they're both undefeated, which is probably not going to happen. More than likely, when they play, they're both going to have one loss. So the loser of the Army-Navy game will have their second loss. So if you've got the winner of the Army-Navy game at 11-1 or 12-1, and then you have Boise State at 12-1, you're going to have a split decision. Half are going to take the Army-Navy winner, half are going to take Boise State. But more than likely, you're not going to see Army and Navy both run the table until that game. More than likely, they're both going to lose one game. But, if that Army-Navy game comes around in December and both teams are 10-1, and that game goes down to the wire and one team wins by a field goal or by a touchdown, I don't care who loses, it's not going to hurt you a whole lot. So it should be very interesting if Boise State can turn it around. Now, if it comes end of the season and Boise State's 8-4, then the Army-Navy loser really doesn't matter, because they're still better than Boise State. But most people are down on Memphis, and I think it's only because Memphis had that same quarterback since 1950. Well, he's finally graduated, so they've going to have a brand new quarterback, but they may end up not missing the beat, because I personally think that Ryan Silverfield is a phenomenal coach, but most people are not as high on Memphis as normal because of that. But we'll find out how good Memphis is, because they've got some big games coming up in the first month of the season. Any thoughts on any of this? Please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. I asked the bar owner if their new elevator helped the bartenders. He said it lifted their spirits. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.